Welcome back, guys. In this project we're going to be building this pricing page, and as always, if you need the sketch file, all you need to do is come and click this button right here and it will download the sketch file for you. But we're going to be implementing a little bit of a toggle button right here using the checkbox hack, and you can see the primary colors right here, the dark gray or the black, and the colors right here. We're going to be doing all that using CSS grid, and right away let's just jump right in. Now I have already established the colors right here for the variables: the background color for the cards, the text color, the dark pink, and the border color. For the HTML, we can just begin straight away by pressing shift exclamation and enter, which will generate a HTML boilerplate for us. And let's link our style sheet, and let's call this pricing page. Let's close this tab. Let's place this side by side like that. Okay, now what you'll see right here is that this is in a sort of container which contains these other cards, but for now I'm just going to put them in a container with the cards inside, and then give each of these cards its own class so that you can style them individually, because the middle one is different from these two. So let's just do that. Div with the class of container and another div with the class of cards, and then in the div with the class of cards, for each of the individual divs, now for these ones, for the cards, let's give this one a class of card and another class of starter, so that we know that if we want to style this, we're going to be targeting the starter class, the starter div, sorry. And let's just give this a class of h3 or h4 and say starter, and we'll say h1. That's not a good idea. It's not really a good idea to have more than one h1 per page, so I'll place a h2 instead and say this will be $19. And then we're going to add an unordered list with the list items 1 2 3 4 5 6, and just like that we're going to say 500 MAUs. MAUs is monthly active users used in Google Analytics, not really good Google Analytics, but any kind of analytics. Unlimited guides, unlimited flows, unlimited branded themes, and this final will be email support. And then right below that we're going to have a button with a class of btn, so that we can style this and this at the same time. But this one, as you can see, is different from these two, so this will have an extra class for it. And then we come and say choose plan. Okay, now we're going to copy this a few times, 2 more times really, and this we're going to give it a class of pro, and the last one we're going to give it a class of enterprise. So let's do this. This says pro, this says $99. Okay, this has an extra thing, so we're going to add an what's this? This is a select. This is a select. So let's just go and add that, and we come and say select with the class of select. We don't need this, we don't need the ID, and we come and say option value is going to be 2500 MAUs, and we're going to say 2500 MAUs. Now because you can see these other ones, there's no need to add other options, so we're just going to leave it at that. But we're also going to add a small tag here that says monthly active users, and then below, now for the list, we're going to say all starter features. What am I writing? All starter features, and then we're going to say unlimited projects, and then we're going to say unlimited fully customizable themes, and then a dedicated a dedicated customer success manager, and then we're going to remove these two. And then the enterprise only has an h2. Sorry about the car, guys. We're just going to say this is a h2 saying let's talk, and then this is going to say all pro features, and then this will be unlimited AUs. This is going to be dedicated environment. This will be enterprise account administration, and this is going to be premium support and services, and then I can delete this. Now for this second one, let me add a class of BTN Pro so that we can style it and make it different from these others. And once we have done that, I don't think I'm going to do this on the top. Maybe I will, maybe I won't, but mostly we just need this. Once we have done that, we need to add this, the toggle button. Now for the toggle button, getting the hack is a bit tricky, so I'm just going to copy paste some code, and then I'm going to explain it. I'm going to explain what it does. So let's add a class here and say I don't have. Okay, so say choose a plan, and below it, let me just get this code. We're going to get the toggle button right here, and we're going to add it there. I'm going to show you how to style this in the CSS. I'm just going to copy and paste the code inside. So let's open this with live server and see how it looks. It looks absolutely horrendous, and that's where CSS now comes in. So we can place this side by side, and then let's just get the toggle button for now. Toggle button is right here, and you can place it where you can just place it right there for now, that it toggles. Now let me just change the words build month and build annually. So let's say this is build monthly, this is build annually. We also need to change the background color of this, and we should say background color should be pink, dark pink. I'm not sure if that's dark pink, but it works. So let's now add the global styles with the also selector, and we say margin 0 and padding 0 as well, because we have lists. And then we're going to say box sizing and border box. And as you can see, now that we've added that, now this behaves properly. Now let's just go over the code for this. For the toggle we have, let me put this full screen and this side by side. Now, where is it? Here. So for the toggle, we have a class of toggle which are targeting here to display flex. So this display flex is what makes this to be aligned in a row form. And once you've done that, we remove the margin. For the checkbox display none, if I were to remove this, you'll see that the checkbox will now appear right here. You can see that, but we don't want this to appear, so we display it none. Okay, so optionally you can also do opacity 0. That will also remove it from the page, but then you can see like it still takes up a little bit of space. So you can add overflow. I think it's overflow hidden. I think so. Maybe not, but anyway, you can just display it none and it works fine. Now, oh no, you know what? It's position absolute. When you position it absolute, and then you say opacity 0, then it will remove it from the page and it won't take us to it. Technically it still will be on the page, but it will be somewhere right here, but since it's taking up an absolute position, it doesn't take up the space on the page. Yeah, I like display none better. So let's continue. For the labels are the build monthly and build annually. These are the labels with the class of names, the class of name where we style it with the font right here, font size and the color. For the label, where's the label? The label, this is for the checkbox. The reason why you add a label for checkbox is so that when we're targeting it, we actually know that this label is going to be targeting this checkbox. That's the reason for this. For the ball, this is this that's moving. So we're just saying that we're coming to check for a condition where once it is checked, once the checkbox shows a tick, then we'll say that if this condition is true, then we're going to get the label and the ball and we want to translate it on the x-axis by 24 pixels, and that is what is happening here. So we are going from 0 pixels to 24 pixels because the checkbox is showing a check mark. So once we've done that, we can close. Okay, we can go back just to this. We can place this here, and then we'll say let's go to the body, or let's add some more styles still. For the unordered list, I like the list style tab to be none so that it doesn't show any circles or discs. And for the button, now let's tell this button. For the button, I'd like background color to be transparent. What did I write? Background color to be transparent. I'd like the border to be 2 pixels solid, and what's this color? The dark pink. The dark pink color. And then I'd like the font family to inherit from the body. And then what else do I want? I want some padding of about this around 12 pixels, and let's also add a border radius right there, border radius of about 5 pixels right there. The reason why this font family doesn't work is because it comes before the body, which we haven't even declared, so there's no font family to actually inherit from. So let's say font family of Helvetica. Oh, no, let's do this. And what else do we do? Okay, for the hover effect. On the hover effect, I want the cursor to be a pointer. I want the background color to be the dark pink, and I want the color to be white for the text on hover. Let's also add a transition effect right here, and so we'll transition the background color by 0.4 seconds. You can see that right there, and it works fine. Now as you can see, this second button should be different, so let's target that. You gave it a class of btn pro, and we'll say the background color should be the dark pink. The text color should be white, and what will that do? That will do that. Okay, so let's target the hover effect for the second button again. Target the hover effect by using the pseudo selector hover, and we'll say on hover I want the background color to be now the opposite of this. So the background color will be transparent, and the text color will be, let's do I have a variable called text color? Okay, no, that's not good enough. Let's just do okay, you know what, the reason why is because I don't have any background color yet. So let's do a background color on the body, background color of bg color as I defined earlier, and now that works properly, which means I still need to change this text for the buttons, and let's just move this up here, and that works marvelously. Let's also add what's the text color for this? Let's just add a text color of white, or of the text color on the body, so that the words may appear white, just like that. Now the next thing I would like to do is align this to the center, so that it is also aligned with this, and then display these as grid template columns. So let's do that next. Let's just target div class container with h1. So right before the toggle, we'll say the container with the class of h1 to text align center, and let's say padding on the top will be 30 pixels, 0 on the left and right, and about 20 pixels on the bottom. Choose a plan. Yeah, that looks fine. And next we're going to be styling these cards, so let's target the cards right here. And for the cards, I'd like to add a margin first of all on the top right here. As you can see, there's no margin yet, there's no spacing. And then I would like to target the divs, the individual divs next, so that I can place a spacing right there. So let's just do that, and I say the class, okay, it's below the toggle. So the cards, and I want to say margin top to be 30 pixels. Okay, let's not do margin, let's do padding, because I also want to add padding on the bottom as well. So 30 pixels on the top, the 10 pixels on the left and right, and 50 pixels on the bottom. What I would like to do next is display them as grid with the grid template columns. So let me show you something. If you just display this as a grid, nothing will happen. It will only work once you add the grid template columns that you want. So I'm going to add actually, you know, let's build this mobile first. So let's do this. So for this is about 500 pixels below, we only want one fractional column like that. And then for the cards, I'd also like to place items to the center like that, but not really like that. Instead let's give them a max width of 300 pixels and a margin of auto. That's much better. 300 pixels is about the smallest device width currently, though I know the Galaxy Fold is about 280 pixels. We can add that media query later. So let's target each of these divs now. Because it's a phone screen, I want the text to be aligned to the center. So let's do that by adding a text align center to the body, and by doing that, it means we can remove this on the h1 to avoid repeating ourselves. That's a programming principle called dry. Don't repeat yourself. Let's also add a grid gap here of about 40 pixels to separate these. Very nice. And then let's add a background color of BG cards. Okay, so let's style the individual divs inside the cards class, the individual divs. Now okay, there's a called card, so let me, instead of calling div, let's just say card, and we'll say I want a margin bottom of 40 pixels so that they are pushed down from each other and we can see the space. What am I doing? What am I doing? Wait, what? Why isn't this working? Why isn't this working? So guys, I realized what I did wrong right here. Instead of placing the background color on the actual divs, I placed them on the entire container of the divs. So all we have to do is just move this down, and that works. So once we are here, I also want to add a padding of about 40 pixels on the top and bottom and 0 on the left and right. And let me just check something. You know, we don't need this max width because this will just limit us a lot. So instead of that, I'm going to add I'm going to increase the padding on the left and right to about 20 pixels, so that it will just reduce according to the device width and we won't have to target each individual device width all the time. Now, next thing I would like to do is, let me just reduce this also to 20, and wait, this to 20. There you go. And on the bottom, let's say 40. Now, next I would like to do is add spacing for each of these. So let's just target the first header right here, and it's called an h4. So div with the class of card, so cards with the class of card, sorry, and we say the h4, and we say the margin bottom to be 20 pixels, to be 10 pixels, okay, 15 pixels, and we say still the cards with the class of card, and we say the h2, is it h2, with the h2, okay, with the h2, and we'll say margin bottom to be 20 pixels. But this, as you can see from this is a color of white and it's a bit bold, so let's just change that right there, and we'll say color to be white and font weight to be 700. Let's add font size of 30 pixels right there. Do we need this? No, we do not. Okay, next let's add margin on the list items right here. So we're going to target this, and we're going to target the UL, another list, and the list item, and we're going to say the margin should be 10 pixels on the top and bottom and 0 on the left and right. Now the reason why we add this padding here is because of this list. If I were to remove it, watch what happens. They go around 30 pixels. Lists, another list and other lists by default have a padding of 30 pixels. So if you didn't know that and you remove this, they're going to be really a pain to style them. Now you can see that the margin here is too little between the last list item and the button, so we're going to add some margin on the button so that it moves down from this list item. So let's go ahead and do that, and we're going to be targeting the class of BTN. Actually, you know, we can just do that from right here from the globals, and we're going to say a margin top of 30 pixels, and that's that. We do it once and it stands for everything. Next, I would like to style this select, because that's the only thing that's remaining really. Let me just add a bit more margin here for the H4, and we just say, let's say make it 30 pixels. That's nice. Let's add also a border radius for these cards. Let's add a border radius of 5 pixels for the cards. And now let's tell the select. So the select is found on the second card with the class of pro, and we're going to be targeting the select. So we're going to be targeting the cards main class with the the div with the class of pro, and we say the select. It also has a class of select, right? Can do that, or we can add the class, and we're going to say background color to be transparent. Where are you? Right there. Okay, let's add a padding of 10 pixels. Let's add a font family of inherit. Let's add border radius of 5 pixels, and let's add a color, text color variable. Let's move this down. Okay, and that's that. Simple as that. Let's also add a cursor pointer on hover, and voila. Now I don't know if you can see this outline. It's a good idea to leave them on, because it's for accessibility purposes. In case you don't have a mouse, you can just use your keyboard to navigate the entire page using the tab key. For the select, let me also add another margin bottom here, just for the actually let me add a width here. Let me add a width on the select of 100 pixels, no, of 200 pixels. Okay, of 150 pixels. Let me add a margin bottom of 20 pixels. Yeah, that looks nice. Move this up top, and then monthly active users. Where is this? Is this not rendering? Where is this? Is it because it's a small tag? Oh, I need it. It can't render inside the select. Okay, let's make this a small tag. Let's add a line break here, and we'll say margin. Let's remove this margin so that this can go back to the top, and then on the select, on the small tag, we're going to be targeting the small tag, and we're going to say margin bottom to be 20 pixels with a color of dark pink right there. That will make it look just like this, and it looks very nice. And that's it for the mobile version. So now what I would like to do, this toggle, you can add JavaScript to it so that it toggles for the monthly stats and for the yearly stats, but I'm not going to do that in this video. That can be a challenge to you. So let's now begin adding media queries. And because we're going to be adding media queries when the breakpoint is greater than a certain width, we're going to be using min width this time instead of max width. So let's say a min width of about 500 pixels. That's too small though. when it reaches a mean width of about 5 or 600 pixels, let me say mean width of 600 pixels, then I want these cards to be constrained so that they don't go all the way to the edge, because it looks like there's a lost column right here, which isn't a good idea to leave in websites. So let's say the card should have a width of 400 pixels with a margin of auto, so that they are centered, and that looks brilliant. That looks brilliant. Let me just add some more margin on the bottom here and say 40 pixels. Or does that not work? Really? Really? Anyway, it's fine. Let's continue adding media queries, and we say when a minimum width of 768 pixels is surpassed, that's about the size of a tablet, then I would like these grids to display 2 of them. Will 2 be enough? Where did I add the grids? Oh, I didn't add the grids. Okay, so we're going to say, wait a minute, grid, I did add the grids, so we're going to just take this and we're going to say for the cards, let the grid template column repeat twice, 1 fractional each. And that doesn't look good because there is horizontal scrolling. So what I could do is remove this width right here. That's what I could do. So I could say width of auto. Okay, that's not a good idea. That's not a good idea. 300 pixels. That's a much better idea. This space is for what? Oh, because of the grid, because they're displaying grid. Let me just show you. Because they're displaying grid. I don't know if you can see, but there's some kind of a cross right here. So it has aligned each one of them in its own grid. The first grid being the one on the right here, then on the left, then on the right, and you can see on the bottom there is also a grid. That's why there is a lot of space right here, but it's fine. If you use Flexbox, you can define your own gaps, which is a good idea. We might do that for the next project. Now I would also like to do something else. Let me just check something. Oh yeah, there's a lot of margin right here which I didn't put, so let's just do that real quick with the enterprise class, with the class cards, with the class of enterprise, and we'll say which tag do we want? We want the h2 tag. The h2 tag right there, and we're going to say padding bottom of 50 pixels. 50 should be enough. I don't want to get into pixel perfect styling because it will just take a very long time. So let's continue. When it reaches about 800 pixels, I want them to now display in 3 fractional columns. So I'm just going to grab this, and I'm going to say media with a mean width of 800 pixels. Then I want this to display thrice in 1 fractional column for each. And as you can see, there's already a problem right here. So instead of this, I'm going to do display flex. And let me just do flex direction to see if it renders off column. This should put them in column form, and okay, it's working. So display flex, and then what's this? There's a lot of space here that I don't get where it's coming from. Maybe on the individual divs. Let me just check something. For the divs, margin bottom, this for the divs, a gap of 40 pixels, a margin of 30 pixels. Okay, so what I could do here is reduce the margin on the top to, okay, the margin on the top can remain, but on the left and right could be 10 pixels. Why isn't this working? Why isn't this working? Cards with the class of card, and we say margin 0. Water. Oh, the reason why it's not working is because I need to add a max width of let's say 700 pixels. Let's see how that will look. It looks absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. Let me also add just a height for these cards so that they are all the same height before I forget, and to say a height of 200 pixels. Okay, not a good idea. A height of 700 pixels. Too much. 500. I don't like this. I don't like this. Let me just remove it for now. Let me just remove it for now. Do I have a container for these cards? The cards deal with the class of container. Let me try styling the container right here. Okay, let's just add this to 1200 pixels, and say the container should have a max width of 1100 pixels, and we'll say the margin should be auto, and we'll say for the cards we want 3 columns each. What can I do to add this? Let me just try adding a height right here, not on the cards but on the individual divs, and we say a height of 500 pixels. Okay, you know what I could do? What I could do is very simple. I could display this as I could display it relative. I could position it relative rather, and then position this absolute so that I push it to the bottom right here. And let me show you how to do that. We can just do position relative with the height of 500 pixels, and then we're going to grab this button, and let's just say for these heights, let's increase the heights of the list items to 20 pixels, and then let's add a padding to these cards. Do the cards have a padding? Okay, so let's add a padding here. Let's add a padding of 0 on the top and bottom, and 30 pixels on the left and right. So let me just look for where I added padding on the cards. Padding on the cards on the left and right, let's say 30 pixels, and then let's remove this, and then that looks better. That looks better. So now I'm going to grab this button, position it absolute within the parent element, which is the card, and then I'm going to push it to the bottom right here so that they are all aligned below here. So let's do that. So we're going to say cards, the class of card, and where's the button? or it's just the bottom. So we're going to grab the btn. Actually, you know what, we could also do that in the globals. So let's do that quickly, and we say position absolute, and we say from the bottom 10 pixels, and we say from the left 50%, and we'll say translate the button on the x-axis by negative 50%, which will place it in the middle. Transform, which will place it in the middle. And just like that, let's just add this to 20 pixels, and that looks much better, much better. So let's just add one more media query, one more media query for oops, I just did a boo-boo. Let's remove this. Since it obviously doesn't want to work, let's just remove it. And then we'll do this instead. I'm sorry, I'm making a lot of mistakes in this video, guys, but you know, I didn't pre-do this, so I'm doing this from scratch, from the top of my head, so please bear with me. Where's this media query? This is at 800 pixels. This is at 800 pixels. Let's add a height of 500 pixels on the cards, and then let's remove this height from here because we don't need it anymore. We can also just remove this, and then what we could also do, oh, I am an idiot. Okay, let's just remove let's just return the div with the class of card. Let's just position this absolute once again. Relative, and then let's grab the buttons for within this media query. The reason why I didn't want it is because I added it on the global and not in this media query. So let's just do that, class and btn, and we're going to say position absolute, left 50%, bottom 20 pixels, and we're going to say transform and translate it on the x-axis by minus 50%, which will center it. Now if we go bottom, it doesn't interfere with this, which is much better. Where was this? Is it's not 200 pixels? What? Oh, it's a class of card, not cards. And we can see that in action right there. There you go. Now what I could do is, because this is also going bonkers, I can, instead of placing this here, I can place this on the 800 mark, which means this will move up here. I can remove this, and voila, and it looks pretty nice, pretty nice. Actually, is that it? Let me just confirm one more thing, and I will say for 800 pixels, let's display these three. Let's see, there's a scroll effect, so let's remove this width, and we'll say a width of auto, and we'll say, the problem I have with this width of auto is because you see this one has less words, it doesn't have overlapping words, which means it's slimmer than these other ones. which have more words. That's the only problem that I have with auto. But the other problem with defining a fixed width is that once the width once these cards have taken up all the space in the window and you have not added another media query for it, what will happen is that it will add a horizontal scroll bar down here, and I don't like that, especially on mobile phones. But I think this is fine. This is fine. So once again, I'm going to upload this to UI Design Daily, not UI Design Daily, UID components. I'm going to add them to my hosting website right here after the stats card, and you'll be able to see this. Actually, let me add a width when it's greater than 1200 pixels. Actually, you know what, not greater than, let me add it when it's greater than 800 pixels. Wait, not 800, 300 times 3 is what, 900, so let's say 912 pixels, and we'll add for the cards with a class of card, we'll say a width of 300 pixels, and voila, this looks much better. And this is off from this. Is that so? This should be enterprise. This should be enterprise. Where is it? This should be enterprise. Enterprise. And then with the class with the h4 element, and we'll say let's talk. Yep, and that's it, and that is it. So if you coded along, I hope this helped you a bit, even though I also added I also had plenty number of mistakes in the video. I'm sorry for that, but it happens when, you know, I was trying to do this off the top of my head, just so that I knew I would make mistakes, but I wanted to leave the mistakes inside to show that you know, there has to be testing and designing, and everybody makes mistakes, but we learn from them. So thank you so much for watching, guys. Remember to share, like, and subscribe for more of such content, and leave a like, and I'll appreciate. So thank you for watching, and do come back.